Here we are at the IOWN Global Forum meetings in Dallas, Texas. And I'm being joined today by Stephen Lim from the NTT Global Data Centers. Welcome, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
So I just wanted to start by perhaps asking you to tell us a little bit about the NTT Global Data Center business.
We provide data center services to large and small clients all over the world. We're the third largest data center provider globally. We build and operate data centers around the world. We've got, I think now we're over 160 data centers in 20 countries.
NTT has committed a significant amount of investment over the next few years.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a $12 billion investment that began in 2023 and will run through 27.
Okay.
We're asking for more, always, because I think the more we can spend, as you know, it's a capital-intensive business. Sure. So that really drives our growth and allows us to serve our customers.
What are the drivers for this business, and what are the challenges?
The growth, as we've seen over the last 5, 6, 7 years, has been significant, primarily driven by cloud providers.
Wow.
What's happened in the last 18 months, 2 years, has been the emergence of AI.
So that's on top of all that growth.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's where it's a little bit crazy. It's cloud providers are still growing 20% year over year. They build a lot of data centers, but they lease a lot of data centers as well. They can't build fast enough to serve everything on their own, which is where we come in. On top of that, the density is much higher. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk about what NVIDIA is doing and driving a lot of the AI. Those chips require a lot more power. And so the electricity requirements, the cooling requirements are much higher than
So by density, you mean the amount of computing per square?
The amount of power used in a single rack.
Okay.
So that's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, 2 to 4 kilowatts per rack. So everything was measured into power utilization. Today, we're seeing 50, 75, 100.
Wow. So in a data center now, that's a much more power-intensive, power-hungry place for. So how are you dealing with that?
If you think about the constraints, which, when we talked about some of the drivers. So the big constraints for our industry overall right now, one is power, which we talked about, and there's a limited availability of power. The data centers themselves are requiring more power. We talked about the chips requiring power. Right. The other is just land. Where can we build data centers?
Right.
And typically it needs to be in dense environments where there's a lot of connectivity around it.
Today.
So
that's the
today.
case. Yeah.
Now, when you think about what photonics will open up for us, it addresses all of those. One is if you're using light instead of power, you're now able to do more and not require that additional power. In theory, you could run a data center with the same density or more, but because it's photonic, you're using a lot less power. Okay. So that's a huge, huge advantage for our future growth.
Right.
The second is just the location. When we talk about latency and bandwidth that the photonic networks allow, you can move things farther apart and still be connected. And so now we can look at other markets. We're sitting here in Dallas. Dallas is one of the densest markets in the U.S. It's one of the 4 or 5 key markets. There's a lot of data centers here. Well, what if we could go to 100 miles out or 50 miles out instead of having to be in an urban environment? So it really opens up that piece where we could build more efficiently and maybe not have to be in an urban environment.
So IOWN and the All Photonics Networks allows you to move processing to another location where it might be lower cost or more renewable energies.
Yes.
And is that kind of the long-term thinking for the business?
It's a good question. There is, and I think most of the larger clients have their own sustainability initiatives.
Right.
And we're part of that, because they're clients of ours. What they do with us goes into their envelope of what their sustainability
They count that as part of their...
You're correct. So most of our clients are looking for us to find ways to do it without increasing cost.
Right.
And so that's our challenge.
So tell me a little bit about how photonics could potentially impact both your existing data centers and your future design for data centers.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Our older data centers use a different cooling solution, usually air-cooled. They don't have the ability to do water-cooled, and so we can't, in theory, run high density with an electrical system. If we were able to convert to a photonic network and that heat creation goes down with that same level of density and compute and latency, it could, in theory, extend the life of legacy data centers significantly.
Well, it's a whole new paradigm of how you think about
Correct.
it, right?
Correct.
That's excellent. Well, listen, Steve, we covered a lot of ground. Really appreciate your insights and your knowledge and sharing that with me and the audience. So
always fun to talk about it. I appreciate you having me here.
No problem. Thanks very much. Good to see you. Thank you.